Rangers, my fellow Power Ranger fans, to my very first episode of Off the Morphin Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. I've been wanting to do a Power Rangers related podcast for so long, and finally here it is. This is going to be on the Comic Hero Talk YouTube channel that I created a while ago, but I've been waiting to revamp. And this is technically the first video of the whole revamp. I have done reviews of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 and 2. You can go check those out on this YouTube channel. You can consider those kind of part of this Off the Morphin Grid, even though I didn't officially do it when I had this show going. But this is the first episode officially of Off the Morphin Grid. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my plans for this podcast. And then, of course, the main topic is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 24, the Boom Comics comic. The prelude to Shattered Grid, the thing that a lot of Power Ranger comic book readers are talking about, where Lord Drakon is now in the reality of the Rangers. We're going to talk about that in a second, but one thing really cool that I just wanted to talk about really quick is I am officially going to Power Morphicon in August, which takes place in Anaheim. I'm so excited about that. I want to go either way. I wanted to go no matter what, but the reason I am so committed to going to this specific one is because they are giving away a limited edition Lord Drakon Legacy figure. You see those Legacy figures behind me of the Power Rangers right there? They're giving away a Lord Drakon one. Or not giving away, but you have the ability to purchase one if you go to Power Morphicon. So when you buy your tickets, at the checkout option, you can purchase a Lord Drakon Legacy figure for $50, which is expensive, but you're not going to be able to get one anywhere else. You're not going to be able to get one in stores. People are going to sell them online for hundreds, I guarantee it. So I'm making sure I get my $50. On top of that, I get to go to Power Morphicon, so I'm so excited about that. By the time that comes around, this podcast will be up and running, like multiple episodes. So I will go ahead, I'll shoot some footage while I'm down there and throw it up on one of the podcast shows. I think that'll be really cool. And can you tell I'm excited? Yeah, and I can't wait. That's going to be so much fun as a Power Rangers fan. And it's definitely worth the trip to me. I mean, I live in Sacramento, California, so driving to Anaheim isn't that big of a deal. I can only imagine living across the country and wanting to go to this thing. So I guess I'm lucky that it's so close to me. But I gotta get that Lord Drakon action figure. That's mainly why I'm going, but of course I want to go for the event as well. And if you've never watched any of my videos before, you never heard me talk about Power Rangers, this is the first video you're watching of mine. Obviously I love Power Rangers. It is Star Wars is my first love, but I mean, can you blame me? But it's like, Star Wars is right up here and Power Rangers is like right up here. Like, it's really, really close. It's not like I love them both equally, but you know, Star Wars is if I had to choose one, it would be Star Wars, but it wouldn't be easy. My heart would tear in half if I had to give up Power Rangers, but luckily I get to enjoy both. But yeah, I just grew up watching the show. My first memory of going to the movie theaters ever is going to watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, the first one from 1995, which I will make a whole video, one podcast dedicated to why watching that movie as an adult disappoints me and makes me mad. But we'll talk about that later. But yeah, basically, I love Power Rangers, doing a Power Rangers podcast. There you go. And Off the Morphin Grid, the title, right? I figured someone would have that title already, but I looked. There's podcasts called The Grid. There's podcasts with The Grid in the name, but there's no podcast with Off the Morphin Grid as the official title. And you know how people say I'm going off the grid, like I'm living off social media, or like I'm gonna hide from the government, I'm going off the grid. Like, that's what it's kind of based, Off the Morphin Grid. Like, I don't know, it just sounds cool, right? So it's hard coming up with names for podcasts and like YouTube channels and all that stuff when all the good names are pretty much taken. Like, it's really hard coming up with names for those type of things. But yeah, the way this show is, I'm gonna do it weekly to start. It's just gonna be me for now. If I can get some fellow Power Rangers fans on eventually, that would be great. I do have a buddy that I podcast with on the movie channel who's a Power Rangers fan, but I don't know how hardcore he is. So maybe I can get him on this. That would be great. So basically, and it's Power Rangers. It's not like Star Wars where there's movie news all the time, or there's news going on. And to be honest with you, I'm not. There's TV news of the new shows running. And to be honest, I'm gonna get this right off the bat. I'm a Mighty Morphin fan. I'm not a fan of Dino Supercharged and all that stuff. I'm a fan up until about Power Rangers in Space, and after Power Rangers in Space, I'm not really a fan. So you're never really gonna hear me talk about anything past Power Rangers in Space. Maybe, look, I haven't watched them, so maybe I'll give those other ones a try, and then if I think they're worth talking about, I'll talk about them. But for the most part, you're going to hear me talking about Mighty Morphin stuff all the time. Zeo, love Power Rangers Zeo. That whole season will get a review. You're going to hear me talk about basically everything from Mighty Morphin all the way up to Power Rangers in Space, the new movie, and hopefully if they continue the new movie, all the comics. I love the Boom comics, Power Rangers comics. They're amazing. And then, yeah, anything that regards that. So basically, if any news comes up regarding the new Power Ranger movies, the comics, Mighty Morphin, any video games or anything in that era of Mighty Morphin from in space, like, I'm going to talk about that if there's any news to talk about at the beginning of this podcast, and then I will talk about whatever my main topic is. Like today, it is Shattered Grid Prelude, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 24. So let's get into it. I have been reading the Boom Comics series since it started. I have every single issue of Mighty Morphin and Go-Go Power Rangers. And it has its ups and downs, but overall, like, I really enjoy them. It's my only fix of Power Rangers right now since the movie. The movie, I love the 2017 movie with all my heart, but we don't know if they're going to make a sequel. So for now, these comics are all I have, and rewatching old episodes, it's all I have. So I gotta, dive into it as much as I can. So I'm loving it. So this issue, number 24, Lord Drakon. I had no idea Lord Drakon was going to take on this following like he does. Just getting online, I'm like, well, when I read him, when I saw him show up in the comics, I was like, this character's awesome. But I didn't think he was going to blow up like that. Power Rangers fans love him. They're making an exclusive toy for him at Power Morphicon. So I had no idea he was going to blow up like that. And I'm glad. He's a great villain, especially in this issue. When you see him, he is menacing. The look they give him with his hair down and his face all damaged, and the way he smiles and the way he talks, he's scary, and that's great. I just think he has the potential to be an amazing character. And here's the thing. Don't forget that he's Tommy Oliver, just from an alternate universe. Tommy Oliver, arguably the greatest Power Ranger of all time. I still think it's Jason, but we can have that debate another day. But a lot of people consider Tommy Oliver the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the Red Zeo Ranger, their favorite Power Ranger of all time. And I won't argue with you if that's the case. But don't forget that Lord Drakon is based on the Tommy Oliver character, just in an alternate universe where he went evil, stayed evil. And it's always cool because when the Green Ranger shows up in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, about halfway through, he's dope. Everybody loved him for a reason. He messes the Rangers up on his own with the Dragon Zord. And it's cool to think, what if he stayed evil? What would happen? That would be that what if. And this is kind of our answer to that, Lord Drakon. So I think that's what's so cool about the character. And he just looks cool with the white and green, kind of a mixture of the Green and White Ranger, which Tommy is. Do you prefer Tommy as the White Ranger or the Green Ranger? I personally prefer him as the Green Ranger, but you can pick and choose whichever one you like better. So I think Lord Drakon is really great. Here's the thing. It's hard to compare Lord Drakon, a character who was created in the comic books and has only been in the comic books, to a Lord Zed or a Rita, who are the classic Power Ranger villains. How do you compare them, because they're in different mediums? But if all being the same, if you're just saying what's the best Power Rangers villain in any medium, TV shows, movies. Because you could say Ivan Ooze is, if you want to, Ivan Ooze sucks, but if you wanted to argue that Ivan Ooze was the best Power Rangers villain, okay. And are you talking TVs or movies? Because he's only in the movies. So if we're saying all being equal, any Power Rangers villain over any medium, Lord Drakon has the potential to be the best Power Rangers villain ever across all mediums. As far as TV shows, I think it's Lord Zed. I think Lord Zed is the best Power Rangers villain, but aside from that, I think Lord Drakon has the potential to be the greatest. We'll see. He's brand new, so we'll see. I think eventually we're going to see him infused into other mediums. I think eventually, like, he might come, like, if, who knows, if they ever did a Power Rangers animated TV show, Mighty Morphin, or like they revamped the Mighty Morphin show, like, and did it with new special effects and modern technology on like Netflix or something, or if they continue the Power Rangers films, I think we could see Lord Drakon appear somewhere, somehow. I think that would be great. So we'll keep our eye on that. Aside from Drakon, I like Grace a lot. I think Grace is a really cool character. If you read that issue where it's like a flashback to when Zordon recruited Grace and those other 4 Rangers, that issue is amazing. I love that issue. It's really cool, and you really understand her motivation and how she took that sword and how she started Promethea with all that technology and stuff. That, I think she's a really good character. I think her motivation is really good, and I don't think she's bad. I think she has to do shady things in order to do the right thing, in a way, like keeping Lord Drakon locked up. I mean, she should have told the Rangers, but she has her own agenda, and for her agenda, which is ultimately good as far as we know, she kept Lord Drakon locked up and didn't tell the Rangers. So the fact that they found out, like, she didn't plan for that. But I just think she's a really cool element to the whole Power Rangers world. Like, you would think, okay, how would the government get involved, or how would an organization like this get involved, knowing the Power Rangers are running around, and they would try to work together. That's kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D. in a way, like in the Marvel universe. So I think her character is great, and it's awesome that she was once a Red Ranger. Like, all the better. And when she comes in, when they have to fight 10 monsters in this issue, and she comes, and there's 6 of us and 10 monsters, and then she says, no, there's 7. Like, that moment was really cool. And I love that she can hop, she has her own Zord. Like, that is awesome. Bring in another power coin and give it to Grace. I think that would be really cool. Here's the thing. This isn't just for this issue, but overall in the Boom Comics, I love how much they hammer you with that Jason is the leader of this team. Because one of the things that pisses me off in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2 is when Jason, and I know the actors weren't there to be sent off in the show like Kimberly did, for example. Austin wasn't there to do that, so they kind of just disregard Jason. Tommy, you're the new leader, and I'm like, what the hell? So I love that they're putting Jason in the forefront, and Jason, you are the leader of the Power Rangers. I love how they did that in the 2017 movie. I love how they're doing that in this comics, and he's so very mature, and he's very assertive, and he's like, and I like the way he talks to Grace, and he's a 16-year-old kid, or however old he is in these comics. So I love how much of a leader Jason is, like, and how much they hammer that on the head. I think that is amazing. Saba, the talking freaking sword of the White Ranger, which is so odd. In the TV show it's odd, in the comics it's odd. It's just funny, and when I'm reading the comic, I hear the Saba voice from the TV show, and it's just funny. But it's cool having Saba there, but we see what Lord Drakon does to him. The way Lord Drakon escapes in this is incredible, because Saba goes to him and says, I've seen what you become, I've seen what you've done, they haven't, I need to eliminate you right now. Saba tries to kill him, accidentally releases him, and Drakon, we're assuming, kills Saba, boom, rips the head off. But don't forget, that Saba is from the alternate timeline where Lord Drakon is from, so we'll still see, once Tommy becomes the White Ranger in the regular timeline, we'll see the Saban from this timeline come into play. So that's not the last of Saban if he did kill him. So don't worry about that. And these comics, they're not all great. Like, here's the thing. They're based off of the original Mighty Morphin show. So, and those shows we know aren't perfect. So we have the monsters are still stupid. Some of them look pretty cool, but when those 10 monsters go, and even when they're fighting certain monsters, whether it's in this or in Go-Go, I'm like, oh my goodness, come up with cooler monsters. Like, it's so annoying. They're fighting like a sheep monster. Like, come on. Like, and that's one of the things with, I don't blame it in the 90s when those ideas maybe sounded like good ideas and kids think it's funny, but I think for the most part, these are adults reading these comics. So come up with better villains than sheep monsters. Just in my opinion. And some of them looked really dumb. Some of them looked really cool. Like, I don't know, the one with the sword it looked like a turtle, and then the fire one. Like, some of them look really cool. But overall, I wish they would have more mature choices for some of the monsters that they fight, because that's one of the things I hate about the show is how dumb some of the villains are. But I kind of let that go because it's in the 90s, it was back then, and low production budgets, stuff like that. So I don't really get mad about that. And one last thing, I think how they're tying in Go-Go with Mighty Morphin right now is amazing. So we know that when Shattered Grid gets starting with these next issues, that both Go-Go and Mighty Morphin are going to be affected by Shattered Grid, which that is amazing. We see that happen in Marvel Comics and DC Comics where those tie-ins affect each other, but their timelines of Go-Go and Mighty Morphin are in the same reality, and so this Shattered Grid is going to affect both issues, and then so these next 2 issues from each run are going to be Shattered Grid tie-ins. That's really cool, and we see them planting the seed with that when in Mighty Morphin, the older Billy had a chance to work for Promethea, and he had to pass it up, and we see that happen in Go-Go issue number 6. So that is really cool to me, how they're making these tie-ins. It just shows, for the most part, these writers are very clever, and they're working very hard in diving into this and giving us Power Rangers fans something really cool to sink our teeth into. So I'm so grateful for these comics because, like I said, it's the only thing I have to feed my need for Power Rangers right now. And I hope you guys feel the same way, because they're honestly, for the most part, incredible. So there you go, my thoughts on Shattered Grid Prelude, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 24. We will see what happens in the next issues. I'm thinking we're getting Go-Go Power Rangers next. I think that's how it goes. So once I get that, I'll do a review on that. Thank you for watching Off the Grid, episode number 1 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers podcast, or a Power Rangers podcast, whatever you want to call it. I will be releasing videos frequently for this podcast. You got the comics coming up. My next TV show review is going to be Power Rangers Season 3, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3, and whoo, do I have some thoughts on that. And they're not good. There's a few redeeming elements, but check out the next episode of Off the Morphin Grid, where I review Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, Comic Hero Talk, if you like all things Power Rangers. If you like Star Wars, I read Marvel Comics, DC Comics. I talk about all of that. I'm going to be reviewing some movies, some TV shows, all things comic book, superhero, villain related I will be talking about, but highlight on Power Rangers because I love Power Rangers. Thank you all for watching, and may the power protect you.